Lilith, Adam's first wife, the truth behind the legend. Part 1. The introduction, sowing the seeds of mystery. Beneath the flickering glow of ancient oil lamps, amidst the hushed whispers of history, a shadow stirs in the forgotten annals of creation. We speak of a tale rarely told, a figure often dismissed, yet one whose very existence challenges the foundational narratives many hold sacred. Was Adam truly alone before Eve? Could there have been another, a first wife, whose story was deemed too rebellious, too dangerous to be woven into the tapestry of sacred scripture? Tonight, as the candlelight dances and the past unveils its secrets, we embark on a journey to confront one of the most intriguing and contentious figures in Abrahamic tradition, Lilith. We promise to delve beyond the whispers and the legends, to unearth the historical currents, the cultural anxieties, and the theological implications that gave birth to this enigmatic figure, seeking to understand the truth behind the persistent myth. Part 2. The journey of deep discovery. The historical and cultural context. Whispers from the ancient world. To understand Lilith, we must first step back into the crucible of ancient Near Eastern thought, a world brimming with demons, spirits, and complex mythological narratives. The figure of Lilith does not spring fully formed from a single biblical text. Rather, she emerges from a rich tapestry of Mesopotamian folklore, Babylonian demonology, and later, Jewish mystical traditions. Long before the rabbinic midrashim began to articulate her story, the ancient Sumerians spoke of the Lilith, wind spirits or female demons associated with the night, often preying on men and children. These were not benign entities, but figures of dread, embodying the anxieties of a world where illness, infant mortality, and unexplained misfortunes were often attributed to malevolent supernatural forces. Consider the Lalartu, Lilu, and Ardot-Lili of Sumerian and Akkadian texts, often described as restless, child-snatching spirits, or seductresses of men. These ancient precursors laid the groundwork for a feminine entity imbued with a dangerous autonomy, a force that resisted patriarchal order. It is crucial to recognize that the Lilith of later Jewish tradition did not appear in a vacuum. She was, in many ways, a Jewish reinterpretation and recontextualization of existing cultural archetypes, infused with new theological and social anxieties. Decoding the scripture, a conspicuous absence. Now, we turn to the canonical Hebrew Bible. Where does Lilith appear in the sacred texts that form the bedrock of Judaism and Christianity? The stark, undeniable truth is this: she does not. There is no explicit mention of Lilith as Adam's first wife in the books of Genesis, Exodus, or any other canonical book of the Old or New Testament. This absence is not an oversight. It is fundamental to understanding her place as a figure outside the mainstream scriptural narrative. However, the legend of Lilith often draws its initial impetus from a subtle textual tension within the creation accounts in Genesis. Genesis 1:27 states, "So God created humankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them." This passage describes the simultaneous creation of male and female. Then, in Genesis 2:18-23, we find a different, more detailed account where Adam is created first, and then Eve is formed from his rib. This apparent discrepancy, this almost poetic tension between two creation narratives, became fertile ground for later interpretive traditions. The legend posits that the female created alongside Adam in Genesis 1:27 was not Eve, but Lilith. She, being created in the same manner as Adam, from the earth, considered herself Adam's equal and refused to lie beneath him. When Adam insisted on his dominance, Lilith, in an act of ultimate rebellion and self-assertion, uttered the ineffable name of God, took flight, and abandoned Eden. This narrative, while not scriptural, offers a compelling solution to a perceived textual ambiguity, attempting to reconcile two distinct creation accounts. The hidden theological meaning, rebellion, autonomy, and the shadow of Eve. The emergence and persistence of the Lilith myth, despite its non-canonical status, speaks volumes about deeper theological and societal concerns. What does Lilith represent in a theological sense, if not explicitly within the divine narrative of the Bible? She embodies the archetype of the independent, defiant woman who refuses to submit to patriarchal authority. In her flight from Eden, she rejects the divinely ordained order of male headship, choosing autonomy over subservience. This stands in stark contrast to Eve, who is depicted as a helper corresponding to him, Genesis 2:18, and later as being formed from Adam, implying a derivative and dependent relationship. Lilith, therefore, becomes a mirror reflecting the anxieties surrounding female agency and rebellion within deeply patriarchal societies. She represents the wild or uncontrolled aspect of the feminine, a figure outside the boundaries of domesticity and submission. The legends that depict her as a demoness who preys on infants and tempts men in their sleep serve not only to demonize her independence, but also to reinforce the perceived dangers of female power when it operates outside of traditional, societal constraints. She is a powerful symbol of the repressed feminine, the shadow side of Eve, who chose obedience and, in doing so, became the mother of humanity. Lilith, in her refusal, became the mother of demons, or at least a figure associated with the demonic realm. Controversies and theories. From folklore to feminist icon, the legend of Lilith is not without its controversies and varying interpretations. Within traditional Jewish thought, particularly in the mystical texts of the Kabbalah, like the Zohar and the alphabet of Ben Sira, where her story as Adam's first wife is most famously detailed, Lilith is unequivocally a demonic figure. She is the epitome of evil, the ultimate temptress, and a force of chaos. These texts emphasize her dangerous nature, her envy of Eve, and her ceaseless efforts to harm humanity, particularly newborn children. This perspective views her as a cautionary tale, a manifestation of the spiritual dangers of insubordination and disobedience to divine law. However, in more contemporary discourse, particularly within feminist theological circles, Lilith has been re-examined and reclaimed as a powerful symbol of female liberation and autonomy. For many, her refusal to be subservient to Adam is not a mark of evil, but an act of courage and self-respect. She represents the woman who dares to assert her equality, to walk away from an oppressive relationship, and to forge her own path, even if it leads to ostracization. In this reinterpretation, Lilith is celebrated as a proto-feminist icon, a figure who challenges traditional gender roles and patriarchal interpretations of religious texts. This modern appropriation highlights the dynamic nature of myth and its capacity to be reinterpreted through different cultural lenses. It moves Lilith from a figure of fear to one of empowerment, illustrating how ancient narratives can gain new resonance and meaning in contemporary contexts, prompting us to question not just the story, but the tellers and the reasons for its telling. Part 3. The Conclusion, an Eternal Echo. We have journeyed through ancient whispers and scholarly debates, tracing the elusive figure of Lilith from her Mesopotamian roots to her contested place in Jewish mystical lore and modern feminist thought. We found no explicit mention of her in the canonical scriptures, yet her story thrives in the rich soil of tradition and interpretation, offering a powerful, albeit non-biblical, answer to a subtle textual ambiguity. Lilith stands as a testament to the human desire to fill the gaps in our foundational narratives, to explore the roads not taken, and to grapple with the complex inner power, autonomy, and submission within the creation story. And so, we are left not with a simple answer, but with a profound question that echoes through the ages. What does Lilith's enduring legend reveal about our own understanding of divine order, human nature, and the perennial struggle for equality and freedom? Does her story simply reflect ancient fears, or does it whisper a deeper truth about the cost of defiance and the yearning for a world where all are truly created equal, not just in form, but in spirit and respect? The legend of Lilith, whether seen as a cautionary tale or an inspiring saga, compels us to look beyond the surface, to question what we think we know, and to ponder the boundless complexity of creation and the human spirit.